Good morning. Living the system of global white supremacy, racism has no boundaries. See, Ukraine has went too far. It's already clear and cut racism, but this right here, as we build into this video, ladies and gentlemen, will leave you astounding, but you won't be surprised. But the audacity of the Ukrainians after clear cut racism of preventing those African students, those Indian students, and all the other non Ukrainians to board the trains and buses to flee the country because of the Russians, the Red Army are coming in to attack you guys for various reasons. Who really knows? The Western media is not going to really tell you the truth. But nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, this is the situation that we're in. You hear that? Indian people, Arabic people before black people. Fair use, fair use. Let me pause it, family. I hear a lot of you stating that you can't hear it. Let me make sure you can hear it.
Before black people, as long as you're black, no one likes you. I remember they punched a certain black guy, a policeman in Ukraine punched a certain black guy for nothing. He was shot for nothing. Yes. So like I said earlier on, they consider white people before considering black people. Yes. And after that, we went to the train station, and they will not let us in. And when they did let us in, they were like, "You have to give us money because this is not free for you because you're poor. This is not free for you. You have to pay for it. Maybe it's a war."
See, what we need to understand, family, is that when we see our foreign brothers and sisters from around the world go to foreign countries, especially countries that are not stable because of opposing forces on their bordering countries, we need to understand the situation that regardless of where you go in the world, there's form of white supremacy, there's form of racism, but there's most likely to happen in a population that is majority white. And now they're getting wake-up calls, unfortunately. And we don't know anything that can deter this sort of mindset instead of speaking out against it. So with that being said, I have a couple of other things that I want to show you guys, but I believe that is very, very important because now Ukraine has went too far, especially when you start to ask students of another country to fight your war. You allow your citizens to flee the country. You allow your citizens to flee the country. It's not like here in America where if you don't have a felony, you can go and buy a weapon. You can go to a range, you can actually shoot. A lot of these countries do not allow their regular citizens to own firearms, especially there in Africa, depending on essentially what country you're from. And when I was over in Ghana, I didn't see a bunch of Ghanaian people, a bunch of Ghanaian citizens walking around with firearms. I didn't know where the Ghanaian firing ranges was. They're not trained in firearms, but you will have them to pick up arms to fight your war. And I know there's going to be some naysayers out there. There's going to be people say, "Oh, well, you were brave enough to go over there and get education from there." These are not soldiers, ladies and gentlemen. At least in America, where we can go and buy firearms at your local gun shop and fight at the firing range, we can essentially train ourselves if you're not military trained. This is when you know clear-cut racism and when a country has went too far when they allow their citizens to flee but ask their non-citizens to stay and fight. And these people are there to be educated. These people are there to work. But you'll allow your citizens to leave. You allow your citizens to be free. You allow your citizens to be safe. But you're going to tell these African students to fight your war. But then you'll have the Western media talking about support Ukraine. For who? Who are we supporting Ukraine for? That's the question I have. See, there's a lot of things that is not getting spotlighted, but now some of the racism coming out, and some of those neo-Nazi or right-wing white nationalist groups in Ukraine are now being exposed. I know one of the most popular ones called Azov, but there's so many other groups, ladies and gentlemen. That's a whole different video for me to get into. But nonetheless, listen to this brother right here, and he had to laugh at it because he thought it was. He knows it's ridiculous. Okay, I'm gonna let him tell it better than I could.
They even told us like we are going to give you guns and you're gonna fight for Ukraine. We're gonna fight for Ukraine.
Give me 1 second, family. I still think I'm having audio issues here. Give me 1 second. I want to make sure you guys hear this brother speak because it's very, very important. Okay, bear with me here. All right, I think we fixed these audio issues. Here we go.
Now confirming to us that there are cases of discrimination in admitting refugees. One Congo native saying he was discriminated against while trying to board a train out of Ukraine. Take a listen.
They even told us like we are going to give you guns and you're gonna fight for Ukraine. I said, hi. We're gonna fight for Ukraine. We are not Ukrainian. We are black. So how can we fight? How can we fight for Ukraine? If we fight for Ukraine, we are going to die first because we are black. When they will see, oh, look at those black people. I think they are from they are from NATO. So we have to kill them first. So how could they think that way? Come on. Ukraine.
There you go, family. There you go. They're asking the African students that came over there for better education to take a lot of their skills and trades back to their countries in Africa in order to build up the infrastructure, the medical systems, school systems, etc. Now, this brother totally depicted how the Ukrainians will give them weapons, and as the Russian Red Army is coming inside the country, they say, oh, there must be United Nations soldiers, so let's kill them first. They have no military training. See, when I look at world history and I look at a lot of the militia groups, what are now called, the National Guard in different states that we have in America, those militias in some form or fashion was either military or got trained by a military member, not, in-depth training, but they have some sort of military training before they picked up arms and fought against the British Army. But not just a bunch of students from a different country who doesn't understand the language, most likely, who doesn't understand the culture, who doesn't understand military tactics, who doesn't understand strategy, but you will have them to pick up weapons. And of course, he's correct. They're going to send you into battle first. They're going to tell you where to go. They're going to tell you where to shoot. And what happens? Where are the resupply lines? Can you speak on the radio? Do you know the right lingo? Do you know phonetic alphabet? Do you know how to communicate in order to have resupply? What are they going to send you out there with? No, you are a speed bump. That's exactly what you are. As Ukrainian citizens are fleeing the country, those African students will become speed bumps so everyone else can flee. That's what they are there for. And I see that African mermaid here says, stay out of Europe, go home, not our fight. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I agree with her 100%. And with that being said, brings me to a solution, ladies and gentlemen, because this happens a lot of times when African and Caribbeans leave their country. They experience a lot of racism, thinking that racism is not a real thing until it smacks them in their face. So the solution to this is that a lot of the money that the World Bank, the UN, and other countries give to Africa, instead of these governments squandering and fraudulenting these funds away, they need to start strengthening their infrastructure for education. And instead of sending your students out to European countries, have some foundational Black Americans, have some United Kingdom British Blacks to come and teach your people inside your own country. That's the first thing. Now, if there's a special skill, a special trade, or special knowledge that a European has, that would be my last resort, to have them come over to your country. But nonetheless, don't go to their countries, bring them to your countries. But of course, you want to, of course, innovate and upgrade your education systems. Okay, you need the right facilities to teach your students the right way. Stop sending out your students to these foreign countries where it's clear and cut racism, even in America. And as I showed you in the other video, America is not safe, especially for people with dark melanated skin, especially people of African descent. It is not safe, right? American Blacks, foundational Black Americans, descendants of American slaves, we have learned to live with this racism because we fight it back. We speak out against it, and we physically fight it back. We know where to go. We know where not to go. Now, sometimes people come over here, they're moving in a lot of these rural areas. They don't do their research. They're kind of like, oh, it's cheap over there. That's not the most safest place to live. And that's why a lot of things occur to certain foreigners when they come over here. Now, there's few of us, Foundation Black Americans, that live in certain areas that we should not be living in. You should be living in a majority Black area. That's just my opinion. Okay, if you're driving around a couple of days and you don't see any Black people, then that should throw up a red flag. But let me give you a solution to the problem for those African countries who sent their students out to bring some of those skills back home. Do what the Koreans do. See, when I was in Korea, unfortunately for 4 years, the one thing I found out is they don't send a lot of their students out to learn certain things. They bring foreigners in to teach their students right there in Korea. You know why? They control the curriculum. They control the environment. They control every aspect of their training and learning environment. It's kind of like when you go to Korea, the one thing that any American soldier would tell you, any American Marine, any American who's been over there to Korea, especially in that Seoul area, there's a lot of English teachers from all over the world because they have programs to pay people from English-speaking countries to come over to Korea in order to teach their students, in order to teach their citizens English and other sorts of traits. It's kind of like if you go to this website here about teaching in Korea, teaching English in Korea, and they tell you essentially how much you'll get paid. They're saying in USD, it's around $13.50 a month. And also they pay for all of your expenses, your apartment, food, etc. And they tell you that some places that you can teach English in is located in Seoul, is located in Jigaon province, cover all of the regions, must be currently enrolled in university or college student, required to teach for a minimum of 6 months to a full year. It says teach English to elementary age children during after school classes. So all of this has all this have a monthly stipend of around $1,300 or $1,400. And the great part about programs like this is not a lot of money involved, but they're paying you, they're providing you a place to stay, they're paying for your food as well, but you get to enjoy another country for 6 months to a year. I know a lot of foreigners stay over in Korea because the food is cheap, and anytime you're getting your apartment paid for, then you don't have to worry about one of those expenses. So essentially, we have to sometimes look at other cultures, look at other people to find out solutions and new ideas, because this is what they do. They bring over English-speaking people from all the English-speaking countries. I'm talking about from the UK, from America to South Africa. They're bringing, whether you be Black, that's right, there are Black English teachers in Korea, even with the clear-cut racism in Korea, and believe me, there is. And they're bringing over people from all across the world who speak English. And you need to at least have a bachelor's degree. They would like you to have 1 year of teaching English, but nonetheless, that's one of the criteria that you need to have. English-speaking country, or you speak English very, very well, and you have a bachelor's degree. See, when we look at certain countries, or the majority of the students over there in India, Nigeria, Ghana, South Africa, all these countries that send out a lot of their students, especially to the European countries, look at some of the other methodologies and solutions that these countries are doing in order to throw out the system of white supremacy and racism in those countries. Because we understand white supremacy is globally. It doesn't matter if you are in the Congo or you are in Ukraine. It really doesn't matter. But there are levels to it. There are levels to white supremacy. At least in your country, you have people that look like you, your government, your military, etc. So white supremacy is at a lower level than it would be at a higher level in a white-torn country like Ukraine. Let me read some of your comments here. I see a lot of people commenting. I'm glad that you guys here this morning to get this commentary, because this is my perspective. This is my conjecture. This is the way that I see things, because I'm a former military member. I was in the Marine Corps as well as the Army. Okay, let's see here. It says, BK Agas says, that side before saying Ukraine's one last time got me rolling. Laverne says, wake up call for them. Don't go back to these countries that mistreat them. I agree. That's my brother, Laverne. We serve together. Okay. They say they want people to fight for them, yet they dehumanize Black people. The irony, of course. Better take that gun. It says, there are schools in Africa. We always seem surprised when we are treated with blatant racism. Stop begging others to accept us. And I believe me, African Mermaid, I agree with you 100%. But I do understand that some of the infrastructure and the education system in Africa is not as good as the West. And believe me, the UK has, when you talk about their public systems, are a lot better, because a lot of those systems are ran socially, okay? Because their citizens are highly taxed. On average, UK and European citizens are taxed around 40% of their paycheck, whereas in America, it depends on essentially how much you make. They don't even really care. On average, you're getting taxed 40%. So that goes to a lot of their infrastructures and their system. That is being part of that socialist environment. Because again, you have to look at countries like Ukraine and Russia when it was under the USSR. One of those S's means socialist, okay? Because essentially they're trying to spread the wealth, which increases the company and a lot of the infrastructures therein. But I agree with the narrative. You have to build up African countries instead of sending those out. Bring people in, right? If you look at that thumbnail that I put up, ladies and gentlemen, you see on the left-hand side of the thumbnail, you see the Nigerian army in their dress uniforms. And then on the right, you see an American Black soldier teaching a Nigerian soldier how to sight picture, sight alignment, steady trigger squeeze, breathe. He's teaching him how to shoot. He's teaching them how to use cover and concealment. He's teaching them military tactics. That's right. I'm saying it. I'm a foundational Black American, and this is a sense of Pan-Africanism. We know that the movement is dead, but nonetheless, a lot of Africans can call out to us, private military members, scientists. Just like the other day, I gave you guys a video about how Mark Dean, a foundational Black American, invented the first gigahertz chip. He's still alive. We have to look at people like that, or Emmett McHenry, the creator of the internet. What about him? Or what about Alan Image, the one who created the first search engine? See, it doesn't matter if it's military tactics or it's technology. There are foundational Black Americans, there are Caribbeans and other people who can bring those skills, can bring those things to your country to teach your people who look like you and I. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. You guys have a great and wonderful day. I hate to see people like myself in countries where they're telling them to walk 12 miles to the near border because the bordering country of Poland and not let them in. And this could have all been prevented about 60 years ago if that Pan-Africanism movement would have ever took place. I'm out.